Blower? I just met her. Oh, the blowers. Oh, so in today's video, I'm gonna compare 3 different budget-friendly blowers to help you dry your vehicle or to work around your vehicle. I have all the links down below. I'll show you the demo, the pros and cons of each one, and my overall favorites of the 3. So let's get started. Okay, first let me show you the demo of all 3 products, which is the Metro Sidekick, the Xpower blower, and then a motorcycle blower. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that if the vehicle is polished, if there's protection on the paint, if there's dressing on the tire, that makes it easier for the blower to blow off the water versus if there's not. So if there's a vehicle that's heavily contaminated that you're trying to blow off the water, it's probably gonna take more work because it keeps on grabbing to the paint and to the contaminant. So keep that in mind. With these demos, we rinse down the vehicle after every use. So we show you the Sidekick, we blow it off, I rinse it back down, and then I do the next one, and then I rinse it back down, and then I do the next one. Don't worry so much about like how it actually looks, just because I want to show you how the tool looks in the hand, how you move around with it. So don't just pay attention to like the water being blown out, but look at everything of how you handle the tool, how you move around it, how the cable and cord, how you hold the cord and stuff. That we get a full holistic view of like how does that product or tool actually work. Okay, so we have the 3 blowers right here. This is the Metro Sidekick. I believe this one is around 150 to like 140. This one with the hose might be a bit more expensive, so if you get it without the hose, I think it'll be cheaper. This is the Xpower blower. This is the same brand that creates the air movers that we have. We have 8 of them. This one here is $50, and then over here is the something motorcycle dryer, and this one is 100 feet long. So as far as just talking to you about the specs and what it is and what I like about them, what I don't like about them, is each one does have their drawbacks. Now they're all going to be within somewhat of the same price range, right? That's why I didn't include the Big Boy Blower Plus or Pro or the Eagle Blower, because those are in the $200, $300, $400 ranges. These are still well within the range. Now Any of these I would recommend if you're just getting started. Obviously your budget is going to play the biggest role into this, and if you're just getting into detailing or you're starting your business and you need a blower, I'll say start off with the most affordable option. Now I'm not going to call it cheap just because it gets the job done, but this is the most affordable option, coming in at $50. It has a 10, my note just dropped. It has a 10-foot power cord. It has 2 settings. Now, it's not the strongest. I will demo everything later. It's not the strongest, but with any blower, I just use it to get the water out of the tight areas, right? So the emblems, the grill, the tires, the wheels, the door jambs, the seals, like just getting the water out of those tight areas. I never use the blower to actually dry the vehicle. Now, yes, if you have a stronger blower, it's easier to blow off more water on panels, but I never say, hey, turn on the blower because I'm gonna dry the vehicle with the blower. It's always just to get the water off the tight area. So any of these 3 will get the job done. So pros and cons of this blower is simply that it's great that you can hold this in your hand, and it's great that it has an extension on here as a blower. The downside to this is how short the cord is. And so what I recommend, like what I typically do with this one, is I always just hold the cord right here on my hand. That way when I'm walking around the vehicle, I'm not gonna, like the cord, the electrical rail or the electrical cord isn't just gonna fly out of the plug. And I do actually prefer to have this hose on there because you could buy it without this hose and just have the attachment there. But the problem with that is your hand will get a bit more tired because you're holding it up, down. With this one, once you turn it on, you can just kind of put it to your side or hold it close to you and use this hand to work around the vehicle. So I do like it in this case. There's a drawback to the cord being that short, but it just depends on your situation. Now I've used this one, not specifically this one, but I used the Metro Sidekick for at least 3 to 5 years actually, and it worked great. I was mobile the entire time. I had it on an electrical cord the entire time as far as like when I used it, and it got the job done. Again, if you go to the higher end models, there's a distinct difference between them, but I use this for probably hundreds of vehicles and it got the job done. Now for this Xpower, the primary reason we bought this is just because we wanted to have a spare, so which is why it comes in at $50. It's not the strongest. This one only has it's only 1 speed, so I'll turn it on right here and you just go 1 speed. This one does come with 2 speeds. Now I'll for the most part always keep it on the second one. Where I might use the speed setting 1 is if we spray plastic dressing alongside the engine bay and we need to spread it. Because I don't want to blow too hard to actually create splatter on the engine bay, I'll just put it on speed setting 1 and let the dressing work into the cracks and crevices of the engine bay. So in that regard, I'll use the lower speed. But other than that, if you are trying to dry something, you're going to use it on speed setting 2. Now going over to the motorcycle dryer here, this one is probably the one I'd recommend the most, or at least the one that I use the most, as far as actually like using it. Now out of my experience, the biggest drawback to these are these little clips here that actually hold the hose. This here, once you remove this clip right here, and this is what takes off the blower. Now in my experience, and this was many years ago now, these clips would always break and I would always have to contact the seller or whoever it is on Amazon to send me another clip, and they would actually send me the hose and the clip together. So you know, it's not like I banged, I would bang these up because I was working with them, but I wouldn't mistreat this specific spot of the hose, and they always broke on me. So that's one thing that I didn't like, because if you don't have this clip right here, you won't be able to use it because you won't be able to attach the blower. And I'm having a hard time locating the hole here. So that's the biggest downside of this dryer that immediately sticks out to me. The pros to this, alongside the other ones, is this one actually does heat up the most. Now there is actually a heating section, a heating setting here to turn on the heater. I actually never do it. I know there's like the heat's gonna help dry the vehicle faster. I never really bought into that, so I actually never ever turned it on. It's also dependent on the wall, like where you're working at. Maybe if you have both the heater on and you have it on high, both the heater on high and the airflow on high, you might trip a breaker or something. It just depends on where you live and like the setup that you have. But I actually never use the heater, so this one I don't really call it a plus. You might actually use it and it might come in handy for you, but for me it doesn't. Now on this one there is a 2-speed variable. You go There you go, down for low and up for high, I believe. But again, for this one, I'm gonna primarily use it on the high setting, but if I do use it on the low setting, it's to spread the dressing on the engine. That's primarily what we're doing. Now, before we got a compressor, the main thing I would do also with the blowers is use it to blow out the interiors when needed. So maybe you don't have an air compressor. Like for many years, as I was a mobile detailer, I didn't have an air compressor. So what I would do instead is I would use the blower to blow out the interior. Not the most effective because the nozzle is still a little too wide to really like be focused in on blowing out certain areas of the interior. But nonetheless, since that's the option that I had at the time, I did use the blowers to blow out the interior. Now for this one, I would say I did like using this one much more as an interior blower because I could keep it on the ground or I could keep it like in the front seat of the vehicle, turn it on, and I can kind of work half the vehicle or the whole vehicle depending on the size of the vehicle. But with this one, you have to carry it the entire time and you can't just leave it in one spot because as soon as it turns on, it's gonna go off balance and it is gonna fall. Whereas with this one, it's gonna stay sturdy where it's at. It comes with casters as well, at least when I purchased it. I never put them on because I was mobile, so I didn't worry about, I didn't want it like rolling down the driveway or anything. So it does come with casters. I've never used them, so I can't give you my opinion on the quality of them, but there is that option if you are working at your home garage or you just want to have it on casters. That is an option. I do indeed like that it has this protective here, like because this one actually does heat up quite a bit and you don't actually want to grab the hose because it's not going to burn your hand, but it can get a bit uncomfortable if you're doing like the entire vehicle. So in that regard, I actually do like it very much that it has this plastic piece here to protect your hand from the heat. Sometimes if you aren't careful while you're working, this can sometimes slip out like that. So before you get started, make sure that it is clamped in nice and tight like this. That way if you do snag on it, it's not going to come off, because if it's not snagged and it's off aligned and you turn it on and this slips out, then this thing is going to be welling in front of you. It might hit you, might hit the car, and that's obviously not something that you want. So you want to make sure it's actually clamped nice and tight. That way you lessen the chances of that actually happening. Now again, I want to reiterate, if you're just getting started, if you need an affordable entry-level blower, these will all work. I made it work with this one for let's say 3 years. This one for probably another 2 to 3 years. This one is kind of been like a backup, but nonetheless we would make it work. So I don't want you to think like, well, you know, if I get this one over this one, it's going to be a deal breaker. It's like, no, they're all going to work out. If you know, the one that I would recommend based on my experience, I would go with this one, which this one is at least, yeah, this one is cheaper at $100. This is $115, this is $50. So I would actually go with this one because even if you are working around the vehicle, you could still put it like, you could put it in the front driver's side wheel, like on the ground, and work like all the way to the back of the passenger side and maybe to the front door of the driver's side, and then you just move it to the other side and then you can cover the rest of the vehicle. Whereas this one, you have to both carry the cord with you and then you also have to like manage this. So like it just, I would say this one would be the winner for me at $100. Let's just hope that this little clip of yours doesn't break or loosen or anything, because that's like, that was the most annoying part of everything, is that this thing kept on breaking. I think it broke like 2 or 3 times. And again, like although I did use the crap out of it because I would use it as a tool, I wouldn't like hit this, or I wouldn't like knock it off. Like I wouldn't really deal with this that much and it would still break. So and when I used this one actually lasted, I had no problem with this one. The only problem that I had, but after so many years, is that this cord in the back actually became loose. But other than that, and I banged up this one much more than I did with this one, and this one still worked flawlessly. So this one was a bit more prone. The heating thing I don't really use, but I would say the motorcycle blower first, then the Metro Sidekick, and then the Xpower, because again, this is just more of a backup for us. But that's gonna wrap up the video right there. Let me know what you think about each one in the comment section down below. Which one would you actually go with, or which one do you actually have in your arsenal? Again, all the links will be down in the description box down below. Please like this video as it does help out. Leave a comment and I'll talk to everyone on the next one. Bye-bye.